The morning sun had barely touched the horizon when Daniel Hayes stepped out of his small apartment in Chicago. He had no grand fortune, no influential family, and no brilliant idea that promised overnight success. What he did have was a quiet determination, a belief that life could be shaped by the mind more than by circumstances. That morning, Daniel discovered a truth that would change everything. Most people believe success is built on skill, intelligence, or luck. Daniel had seen men of great intelligence fail repeatedly, while ordinary people, who seemed to have nothing, rose to heights no one expected. He began to understand that there was a hidden law at work in every life, a law stronger than logic or reason. It was the law of the mind. What you dwell upon most becomes the reality you live. Daniel remembered the words of an old mentor, Mr. Whitman, a man who had faced poverty, illness, and heartbreak but had always moved forward with faith. Mr. Whitman often said, "Your thoughts are the seeds of your destiny. Plant wisely and tend them carefully, or life will plant weeds for you." That morning, Daniel faced a choice. He had been worrying about bills, about the job he might lose, and about a world that often seemed unfair. But he made a conscious decision. He would not dwell on fear. He would choose to dwell on hope. He would plant the seeds of faith and optimism in his mind, and see what grew. There is a silent power in attitude. It does not shout or demand attention. It whispers in the mind, shaping the way you see the world and the way the world responds to you. Daniel felt this power as he walked to work. The same obstacles that might discourage another man became stepping stones for him. A missed bus became a chance to observe a new neighborhood. A rude customer at the diner he worked at became a lesson in patience and understanding. He saw possibilities where others saw problems. A positive attitude is not born from luck. It is born from decision. Daniel understood that each morning, life presents two envelopes. One contains blessings, peace, health, happiness, and progress. The other contains penalties, worry, fear, and failure. Both are real, but the envelope you open depends on the attitude you bring to the day. As he stepped into the bustling streets of the city, Daniel felt like a magnet. Opportunities seemed to appear where he least expected them. A conversation with a stranger turned into a job lead. A minor mistake at work led to a moment to impress his supervisor. The mind that is filled with faith cannot attract failure. The mind that dwells on doubt cannot receive success. Daniel realized that what he thought most often was what he invited to live with him. He thought about the farmer he had read about in a book. The farmer trusted the soil. He planted with confidence, watered with care, and waited patiently for the harvest. He knew he could not plant thorns and expect roses. Daniel understood that his mind was like the farmer's field. If he planted fear and doubt, that was what he would harvest. If he planted hope, faith, and perseverance, success would grow naturally. Faith is like sunlight for the mind. It warms every seed of effort and drives out the cold shadows of fear. Doubt is like a cloud that blocks the sun. Daniel chose to keep his thoughts turned toward the good he wanted to see in his life. He knew the law of the mind was like a mirror. It reflects whatever attitude you carry within yourself. Every morning, he began a ritual. Before stepping into the world, he spoke words of faith aloud. "Today, I walk in confidence. I shall meet good fortune. I shall give kindness, and I shall receive it." He repeated these words as if planting seeds in fertile soil. Every day, he watered them with belief, and every day, he noticed life responding. Small blessings multiplied. Moments of joy appeared unexpectedly. Opportunities he had never imagined opened their doors. Daniel also learned a great paradox. Life does not give us what we want. It gives us what we expect. Those who meet adversity with optimism are not dreamers. They are realists who understand the unseen laws of success. The greatest inventions, the most daring achievements, and the most lasting legacies began with a mind that refused to surrender to doubt. Daniel wanted his mind to be such a mind. The path was not easy. Life tested him with setbacks, disappointments, and moments when the world seemed dark. But he remembered the oak that bends in the storm and the mountain that stands against the wind. Each endured, and through endurance became mighty. So it was with him. Every challenge contained a lesson, every failure contained a hidden blessing. Daniel began to understand that attitude was more than optimism. It was the architect of destiny. It converted obstacles into stepping stones, opposition into fuel, and setbacks into preparation. The man who holds hope in his heart discovers unseen forces aligning for his benefit. The world may seem cruel to one who expects cruelty, but to one who expects opportunity, the world provides it in ways that cannot always be seen at first. By the end of that day, Daniel walked home tired but inspired. He had faced the usual challenges of the city, yet something inside him felt light, alive, and confident. He realized that mastery of success began not with labor or skill, but with thought. A positive attitude was the seed from which all fortune grew. He had planted it carefully in the soil of his mind, and he would tend it daily, for the harvest would come. That night, Daniel sat by his small kitchen window, watching the city lights twinkle. He whispered to himself, "Faith is stronger than fear. Hope is stronger than doubt." And with that belief, he closed his eyes, knowing that tomorrow would bring more blessings because he had chosen to see them. Call to action for YouTube, for narration style. If this story inspired you, make sure to subscribe, share, and leave a comment about the positive changes you are planting in your life today. If you want, I can continue with part 2 in the same story-driven style, where Daniel begins to see the law of reflection in action and learns how adversity becomes opportunity. Keeping it motivational and 1,000 words. Do you want me to do that next? Part 2. The hidden strength in adversity. The morning fog clung to the streets of Chicago like a soft curtain as Daniel Hayes walked to work. He had learned a powerful lesson the day before about the mind and its ability to shape reality. But now, the world seemed determined to test him. A sudden downpour soaked his coat, a delay on the train made him late, and the thought of bills and responsibilities weighed heavily on his shoulders. Yet Daniel felt a strange calmness inside. He had discovered a secret that many never learn: hardship is not a punishment, it is a teacher. Daniel remembered the words of his mentor, Mr. Whitman. Every storm has a gift. Every difficulty hides a lesson. Life does not strike to destroy you. It strikes to guide you towards strength you did not know you possessed. Daniel thought about those words as he ducked under an awning to escape the rain. In that moment, he made a choice. He would not allow the hardships of the day to control him. Instead, he would meet them with a positive attitude, with faith, and with courage. There is a quiet power in facing adversity with a cheerful heart. It turns defeat into instruction and sorrow into song. The man who smiles through difficulty commands respect, even from strangers who see only the surface of his struggle. Daniel had begun to notice this in himself. When he offered a kind word to a grumpy commuter or helped someone struggling with packages in the rain, he felt an energy returning to him, a silent current of goodwill. Nature itself teaches the same lesson. Every storm clears the air. Every fallen leaf prepares the ground for spring. Life does not waste a single moment of hardship. It uses every challenge to prepare you for growth. Daniel told himself, "This is not against me but for me." Every setback, every delay, every disappointment was an invitation to prove his strength, to sharpen his mind, and to grow in faith. He thought about the people he admired most in history. Men and women who faced poverty, illness, or opposition but never gave in to despair. They did not wait for life to be kind. They shaped their own destiny with a disciplined mind and a cheerful heart. Daniel realized that the world does not shape your attitude. Your attitude shapes the world you see. By keeping his thoughts focused on gratitude and courage, even the hardest path became a road upward. By mid-morning, Daniel faced a problem at work. A shipment had been delayed, and his boss was angry. An ordinary man might have panicked, argued, or blamed others. Daniel remembered the lesson of the cheerful mind. To be cheerful does not mean to ignore difficulty. It means to master it, to maintain calm in the storm. He took a deep breath, acknowledged the challenge, and offered a solution calmly. His boss's anger softened, and the problem was resolved with less friction than Daniel had feared. There is a magnetic law in cheerfulness. A cheerful mind draws opportunity, friends, and even health to itself. People are naturally drawn to those who maintain hope and faith. Daniel noticed this quietly in his own life. A smile from a friend, a nod of respect from a colleague, a small favor from a stranger, all of these seemed to come to him effortlessly when he carried a spirit of joy and gratitude. The difference between people who succeed and those who struggle is often not skill or luck. It is the habit of thought. Some see only what is missing, others see what remains. Daniel chose to see what remained. A simple lunch became a feast when he shared it with a friend. A cramped apartment became a home because he was grateful for the roof over his head. The world is a mirror, reflecting the tone of your thoughts. If your thoughts are cheerful, life will respond in kind. This cheerful attitude does more than attract success. It preserves health. Anger, worry, and resentment drain energy and poison the body. Faith, gratitude, and calmness strengthen it. Daniel had noticed that on days when he approached life with optimism, he felt stronger, clearer, and more capable. When he allowed negativity to creep in, he felt drained and unsteady. The body responds to the mind. A peaceful heart steadies the nerves and sharpens every cell. Daniel remembered the physician he had read about who entered sick rooms with heavy hearts. His presence deepened despair. But the doctor who brought calmness and hope inspired recovery. Daniel realized the same principle applied to every interaction. The cheerful mind spreads influence silently. Words of hope, acts of kindness, and a spirit of faith ripple outward, affecting everyone who crosses your path. The energy returns multiplied, creating more opportunities, more friendships, and more success. Self-mastery is the next step on the path. Daniel had learned that the mind must be disciplined to achieve greatness. Every emotion, love, fear, faith, anger, can be a servant or a master. The undisciplined mind rushes like an unbroken horse, pulled by desire, fear, and impatience. The disciplined mind moves with calm authority. It acts with purpose and restraint. It turns energy into power instead of chaos. Daniel knew that controlling his thoughts was not a one-time act. It required daily vigilance. When he felt anger, he reminded himself to respond with calm. When he felt fear, he chose faith. When fatigue or discouragement pressed down, he reminded himself that every challenge was temporary and that growth came through endurance. Self-discipline in thought gave him control over circumstance itself. He no longer felt like a victim of chance or fortune. He carried within him the power to rise, rebuild, and begin again. The day ended with Daniel returning to his apartment. He had faced rain, delay, anger, and exhaustion, yet he felt triumphant. His triumph had not come from avoiding difficulty but from meeting it with the right attitude. He understood now that faith and expectation are silent forces that shape reality. Faith is not blind hope. It is the quiet certainty that, beneath confusion, there is order. Beneath delay, there is purpose. Every great achievement in history had been born from the minds of those who refused to surrender to doubt. They believed in good even when the world seemed dark. Daniel promised himself that he would align with this invisible power, becoming a co-worker with the universal laws that govern life. He would hold faith, expect opportunity, and act with discipline. The unseen forces would respond to his persistence, his courage, and his optimism. As he lay in bed that night, Daniel whispered to himself, "Faith will guide me. Joy will strengthen me. Discipline will protect me. I will meet life with courage, and I will grow through every challenge." Sleep came easily because he had learned the secret that many never discover. Life is not against you. Hardship is a teacher. A cheerful mind is a magnet, and disciplined thought is a fortress. Those who understand these truths carry the power of success in their own hearts. Call to action for YouTube. If Daniel's story inspires you, subscribe, share, and comment below. Let us know how you plan to face today's challenges with courage, cheerfulness, and faith. I can continue with part 3, where Daniel begins to see the real-world results of his disciplined thought and positive attitude, showing how adversity turns into opportunity, keeping the story motivational and practical. Do you want me to continue with part 3 next? Here's a rewritten part 3 in a Napoleon Hill-inspired story style, with an engaging hook, tailored for an American audience, in easy and simple English, around 1,000 words, continuing your story, part 3, faith, harmony, and the strength to persist. The first light of dawn painted the Chicago skyline in soft gold when Daniel Hayes stepped onto the street. He had come to understand a truth few ever truly grasp. The mind is a creative force, and faith is its engine. As he walked to his job at the small printing company, Daniel reflected on what he had learned. Every great achievement began as a single thought, held firmly in belief, nurtured by persistence and disciplined action. Daniel had seen it in the lives of those who inspired him. Inventors who refused to give up after countless failures. Artists who painted their visions despite poverty. Leaders who faced ridicule and opposition but held fast to their convictions. The common thread was faith. Faith was the invisible bridge connecting their thoughts to reality. And faith, Daniel realized, could be cultivated. He remembered a moment from his own life the week before. He had doubted whether he could finish a project on time. The work seemed impossible, the hours too long. Yet, he whispered to himself, "I will succeed because I have prepared and I will persevere." That single declaration, repeated with belief, changed his approach. Instead of despair, he felt focus. Instead of worry, he felt energy. The project was completed, not perfectly, but successfully, and it confirmed the truth: faith creates proof. Faith, Daniel knew, is not passive. It is an active choice. It is not waiting until the path is clear but stepping forward because you trust that the way will appear. Expectation is faith in action. A man who expects success prepares for it. He positions himself, sharpens his skills, and stands ready. The universe responds to that readiness, delivering opportunities to the prepared mind. Conversely, expectation of failure ensures its arrival. The hopeless stumble blindly into the consequences of their own doubt. Daniel had begun to see the outer world as a mirror of his inner thoughts. If disorder appeared, it was not the world that needed fixing, it was his mind. Cleansing the mind of fear, cultivating faith, and practicing gratitude transformed how he experienced life. He began each day affirming that he lived in a friendly universe, guided by intelligence, ordered by law, and fueled by love. Each affirmation strengthened his outlook and made him alert to opportunities he might otherwise have missed. Gratitude and faith walked hand in hand. Daniel had learned to give thanks for what he already had, even the smallest blessings. A warm cup of coffee, a friendly smile from a stranger, the roof over his head, all became reminders that life was generous. Gratitude was the language through which faith spoke, quietly confirming that even things not yet understood were working for his good. A grateful heart cannot harbor fear, for faith and fear cannot dwell in the same house. One afternoon, Daniel noticed a colleague, Sarah, struggling to complete a complex order. Others were impatient, frustrated by the delay. But Daniel approached with calmness and cheer. He offered guidance, encouragement, and a steady hand. By the end of the day, the work was completed, and Sarah expressed gratitude that went beyond words. Daniel realized then that harmony and goodwill were powerful forces. Every act of cooperation, every gesture of understanding, amplified the positive forces around him. Harmony begins within. Daniel had seen too many people fail, not because of skill or opportunity, but because of inner conflict. Jealousy, resentment, impatience, and anger created friction that drained energy and blocked progress. Conversely, those who cultivated patience, fairness, and goodwill moved forward with greater ease. Their presence softened tension, calmed conflicts, and invited collaboration. Harmony was strength under control. As Daniel walked home that evening, rain washing the streets clean, he thought about the power of persistence. Every worthwhile journey meets a point where enthusiasm fades and the road seems endlessly long. Most people turn back at that moment, discouraged by delay or difficulty. Only the soul that persists discovers that the obstacles were tests, guardians of the rewards that awaited beyond. Persistence, Daniel realized, was the fire that transformed weakness into strength. Every obstacle mastered became a servant to success. Talent may open the door, an opportunity may place it ajar, but only persistence walks through and ensures the goal is reached. He had already seen this in his own life. Tasks that had seemed impossible became manageable when approached with steady faith, disciplined thought, and a cheerful, cooperative spirit. He thought of the pioneers of industry, the inventors, the writers, and leaders he admired. Each had faced storms, failures, and ridicule. Yet their faith and persistence carried them forward. The storms did not destroy them, they tested them, shaping them into the people capable of the achievements they sought. Daniel understood now that life was a mirror of inner strength. The calm soul navigated storms, while the fearful faltered. By the time Daniel reached his apartment, he felt a deep sense of alignment with the laws he had been learning. Faith, gratitude, harmony, and persistence were not abstract principles. They were forces he could harness daily. Each thought held in faith, each act of goodwill, each refusal to succumb to fear, was a step toward mastery. Success, he realized, was not a distant goal. It was the natural outcome of a mind disciplined, a heart grateful, and a spirit persistent. That night, Daniel sat by his window, the city lights reflected in the glass. He whispered a promise to himself. I will hold faith in all things. I will cultivate harmony in thought and action. I will persist when the path grows long. Every challenge will be a teacher, every setback a guide, and every obstacle a stepping stone. He understood that this was more than motivation. It was law. Faith, harmony, and persistence were forces older than any person alive. They had shaped history, created civilizations, and brought impossible dreams to life. Now they were shaping him. He closed his eyes, imagining the work he could accomplish if he carried these principles into every day. The world would respond to his readiness. Doors would open. Opportunities would arrive. Not because of luck, but because he had aligned himself with the invisible laws of life. Daniel realized that success was not a distant dream but a habit of thought and action. The cheerful, disciplined, persistent mind attracted opportunity. The harmonious, cooperative heart drew people and resources. The faithful soul moved through life with confidence that the universe would supply the reward for effort. This truth brought him peace. He had learned the secret most overlook. The outer world is shaped by the inner. And so Daniel Hayes, a man of modest means, stepped into his next day with resolve. Each morning, he would practice gratitude. Each challenge would be met with faith. Each person he encountered would receive patience and understanding. Each task would be pursued with persistence. He would become a co-worker with the invisible laws that govern all life, and in doing so, he would experience the true power of thought held in faith. Call to action for YouTube. If Daniel's journey inspires you, subscribe, share, and comment. Tell us how you plan to cultivate faith, harmony, and persistence in your life today. I can now create part 4, where Daniel begins to witness tangible results from his faith, harmony, and persistence, showing how he attracts opportunities and influences others positively, keeping the story motivational and 1,000 words. Do you want me to continue with part 4 next? Here's part 4 rewritten in a Napoleon Hill inspired story style, with an engaging hook, tailored for an American audience, in easy and simple English, around 1,000 words. Part 4. The power of vision and taking decisive action. The city streets glimmered with the afternoon sun, and Daniel Hayes felt a quiet excitement in his step. Something had shifted within him. The lessons of faith, harmony, and persistence were no longer abstract ideas. They were becoming living principles guiding his every thought and action. He had begun to notice opportunities where others saw obstacles, solutions where others saw dead ends, and friends where others saw strangers. He had learned that the mind, disciplined and confident, could shape reality. Daniel paused at the corner cafe, watching people rush past in a blur of motion. Each face told a story, each person carried unseen struggles and secret hopes. He remembered a truth he had learned from his mentor, Mr. Whitman. The outer world is a reflection of the inner. If you want to change your circumstances, first change your vision. Daniel had begun to see clearly the life he wished to live, the impact he wished to have, and the purpose that fueled him. Vision is the starting point of all achievement. It begins in the mind, imagined with clarity and held with unwavering faith. Daniel pictured himself not as a passive participant in life, but as an active creator, shaping outcomes with thought, attitude, and action. He visualized success at his work, the respect of colleagues, and the confidence to lead projects that mattered. This vision became a guide, a compass pointing toward opportunities he might have missed before. But vision alone is not enough. Daniel had learned that decisive action is the bridge between thought and reality. A man may dream of riches, influence, or accomplishment, but unless he acts, those dreams remain shadows. Opportunity favors the prepared mind, but preparation without execution is wasted energy. Daniel made a commitment to act promptly on every chance, every idea, every insight that his disciplined mind recognized. That afternoon, an unexpected situation arose at the printing company. A long-standing client needed a rush order, and the usual team hesitated, unsure they could meet the demand. Daniel saw this as more than a challenge. He saw it as a test of the principles he had been practicing. Calmly, he gathered his colleagues, outlined a clear plan, and divided tasks efficiently. His confidence inspired cooperation. His vision guided the work. And his persistence ensured that no one gave in to doubt or discouragement. By evening, the order was completed on time and exceeded the client's expectations. Daniel's calm and decisive action had turned a potential disaster into a triumph. The client's gratitude and praise were immediate, but the greater reward was the quiet satisfaction Daniel felt within. He had seen the power of aligned thought, faith, harmony, and action at work. He understood now that the universe responds to clarity of purpose combined with persistent and decisive effort. Daniel also realized the importance of influencing others through example. People are drawn to those who radiate confidence, positivity, and focus. By cultivating these qualities in himself, he had begun to create an environment where cooperation, goodwill, and productivity flourished. Harmony in thought and action spreads outward, touching everyone around you. Leaders are not made by position alone. They are made by character, vision, and the ability to inspire others through presence and principle. That night, Daniel reflected on the lessons he had learned. He understood the rhythm of success. First comes faith, which creates a clear and positive vision. Then comes harmony, which ensures cooperation and smooth interaction with others. Next comes persistence, which carries the soul through difficulty. Finally, decisive action translates thought into tangible results. Those who master this sequence do not wait for luck, they create their own fortune. Vision is strengthened by faith, Daniel realized. When the mind clearly sees what is possible and trusts that it can be achieved, obstacles shrink and challenges become manageable. Faith is not wishful thinking, it is the certainty that the universe will respond to focused effort and prepared action. Daniel decided to practice daily visualization. Each morning, he would picture the results he wanted, speak them aloud with belief, and prepare himself mentally to act on any opportunity that arose. The next morning, as Daniel walked to work, he greeted neighbors and strangers with genuine warmth. He helped a young man struggling with a heavy load, offering both assistance and encouragement. He smiled at the barista who served his coffee, thanking her with a sincerity that brightened her day. These small acts, he realized, were part of the law of harmony. Every gesture of goodwill, every moment of patience, every word spoken with kindness creates a ripple effect. The energy you release into the world returns multiplied, sometimes in unexpected ways. At work, he applied decisive action to even the smallest tasks. A routine order was completed ahead of schedule, and he suggested improvements that increased efficiency. Colleagues noticed the change. They saw a man who was calm under pressure, cheerful despite challenges, and ready to act when opportunity appeared. Influence does not always come from authority. It often comes from consistent character and effective action. Daniel's vision and faith had transformed not only his life but also the environment around him. That evening, Daniel sat at his desk with a notebook. He wrote down goals, big and small, and planned specific actions to achieve them. He reflected on his progress and considered the lessons of the day. The clarity of his vision, combined with faith and action, had already produced tangible results. He realized that a mind disciplined in thought, guided by principle, and committed to decisive action could accomplish more than talent or luck alone. Daniel knew that the path of success is not without trials. There would be delays, setbacks, and distractions. Yet he had learned that these are not signs to quit but invitations to grow stronger, to apply vision more clearly, and to act with greater persistence. Obstacles are simply the instruments by which the universe tests readiness. The man who persists and acts decisively becomes master of circumstances rather than servant to them. As the city lights blinked on, Daniel felt a deep sense of peace. He had learned that success is the product of disciplined thought, faithful vision, harmonious relationships, persistent effort, and decisive action. Each day is an opportunity to practice these principles. Each challenge is a teacher. Each interaction is a chance to influence positively. Daniel had stepped into a life where purpose guided him, and he could see the path to the life he had envisioned. Faith, harmony, persistence, and action had combined to create momentum. Daniel Hayes, once unsure and hesitant, was now a man who understood the secret of achievement. He had begun to experience the law that Napoleon Hill described: the universe responds to the mind that believes, acts, and endures. Every day brought proof that the power to shape destiny lies within, waiting for those who are willing to see, believe, and act. Call to action for YouTube. If Daniel's journey inspires you, subscribe, share, and comment below. Tell us how you will combine faith, harmony, persistence, and decisive action to shape your own success. I can now create part 5, where Daniel faces a major life challenge and applies all he has learned so far to achieve a breakthrough. continuing the motivational story for the American audience. Do you want me to proceed with Part 5 next? Here's Part 5 rewritten in a Napoleon Hill-inspired story style, with an engaging hook, tailored for an American audience, in easy and simple English, around 1,000 words. Part 5, Overcoming the Greatest Test and Unlocking Inner Power. It was a cold, gray morning in Detroit when Daniel Hayes realized that life was about to test him like never before. He had faced small challenges, hurdles that required patience, persistence, and harmony. He had practiced faith and decisive action, and the results had been encouraging. Yet today, Daniel sensed something different. The difficulty ahead would demand everything he had learned, and then more. The printing company had received news that a major contract was in jeopardy. A longtime client had threatened to cancel, citing delays and minor errors. Panic spread among the staff. Voices rose, fingers were pointed, and fear began to take hold. Most men would have retreated, allowing worry to control their actions. But Daniel remembered a lesson he had learned early in his journey. Fear and faith cannot dwell in the same heart. He took a deep breath and reminded himself of the principles that had guided him this far. Faith in action, harmony in relationships, persistence through obstacles, and decisive, thoughtful action. These were not just words. They were forces that could shape the outcome of any situation. Daniel felt a quiet calm settle over him. Where others saw a crisis, he saw an opportunity. Where others saw the end, he saw a path forward. He called a meeting with the team. His first words were simple, but they carried the weight of conviction. We can handle this. We will handle this. Let's look for solutions instead of problems. Together, we can turn this around. There was a pause, and then a sense of relief began to ripple through the room. Daniel's faith and calm presence reminded everyone that fear was optional. Daniel knew that decisive action was needed immediately. He reviewed the client's contract, identified the areas where errors had occurred, and created a clear, step-by-step plan to correct them. He assigned responsibilities carefully, taking into account each person's strengths. Then, he rolled up his sleeves and worked alongside his colleagues, showing by example that no task was too small and no challenge too great when approached with focus and determination. As the hours passed, Daniel kept the team motivated. He reminded them to maintain harmony, to speak with kindness and encouragement, and to look for solutions instead of blaming. The atmosphere changed. Cooperation replaced tension. Energy replaced despair. The work was difficult, but Daniel had prepared his mind to see opportunity within adversity. Each problem solved was a small victory, reinforcing the power of persistence. By evening, the major errors had been corrected, and the project was ready for delivery. Daniel personally called the client, explaining the steps taken to ensure accuracy and timeliness. The client's initial anger softened. By the end of the call, he was impressed with the initiative and dedication demonstrated by Daniel and his team. The contract was saved, and the client promised to continue their partnership. What had started as a crisis had become a triumph, achieved through faith, action, persistence, and harmony. As he walked home, Daniel reflected on what had happened. Challenges are not random. They are tests of character, preparation, and strength. The universe does not punish, but it does reveal readiness. Every obstacle that Daniel had faced was a teacher. Every difficulty was an opportunity to apply the laws he had learned. Faith transforms challenges into stepping stones, and persistence ensures that those stones are climbed. Daniel also understood the importance of maintaining a cheerful mind through trial. A calm and positive attitude not only influenced his own performance but affected everyone around him. He had seen how fear spreads and how hope spreads. His inner calm had acted as a magnet, pulling focus, energy, and cooperation to his side. The law of harmony had worked in action, proving the truth of Napoleon Hill's principle. Success is built not just on skill or intelligence, but on the mind disciplined, the heart aligned, and the spirit persistent. That night, Daniel sat by the window and wrote down the lessons of the day. He realized that the greatest successes often come after the fiercest trials. Those who are unwilling to face difficulty will never see the rewards that lie beyond. Yet those who meet adversity with faith, clarity of vision, and a steady hand can transform potential defeat into victory. Every setback, he thought, carries within it the seed of an equal or greater blessing. Daniel made a decision to embrace each future challenge with the same mindset. He would see opportunity within difficulty. He would act decisively when action was required. He would maintain harmony in relationships and encourage those around him. And he would never allow fear to control his thoughts. Faith was not just for prayer, it was a constant companion in every conversation, every decision, and every step of life. In the days that followed, Daniel noticed subtle but powerful changes. People sought his counsel. Opportunities appeared that had not existed before. His reputation as a man of calm determination and fair leadership spread. The universe seemed to respond to his inner readiness. It was clear that his disciplined mind, combined with persistent action and a positive attitude, created momentum that attracted success naturally. Daniel realized that his greatest power lay not in external circumstances but within himself. Faith had been the starting point, but action had been the bridge to results. Harmony had preserved energy and influence. Persistence had carried him through uncertainty and challenge. Now, his vision of the life he wanted began to manifest in ways that were tangible, measurable, and deeply satisfying. He understood another truth: mastery of self precedes mastery of circumstance. The storms of life are inevitable, yet the man who governs his thoughts, emotions, and actions can remain steady while others are tossed about. The power to shape destiny is not granted by fortune or chance. It is cultivated within, through the consistent application of law, faith, persistence, harmony, vision, and decisive action. That evening, Daniel made one final reflection. Life would continue to challenge him, as it does all who aspire to greatness. But he now had the tools to navigate any obstacle. He would approach the future with courage, clarity, and gratitude. Every difficulty would be a teacher. Every delay would be an opportunity to grow stronger. Every setback would be transformed into a stepping stone. Daniel Hayes had discovered the hidden law of achievement. The mind, disciplined and guided by faith, creates results. The heart, aligned with harmony and goodwill, attracts opportunity. The spirit, persistent and decisive, ensures that nothing is wasted, nothing lost. Success is not a matter of luck, timing, or talent alone. It is the inevitable outcome of a mind and heart prepared to act with courage and wisdom. He leaned back in his chair and whispered to himself, "I am ready. The world is ready. The next challenge will come, and I will meet it with faith, persistence, and a cheerful, decisive heart. The power within me is greater than any storm outside. I am co-worker with the laws that govern life, and my destiny will reflect my readiness." Daniel Hayes had learned that the greatest victories are not measured by gold, power, or fame, but by the strength of character, the clarity of vision, and the mastery of self. Those who persevere, act decisively, and maintain harmony and faith will always discover that opportunity, abundance, and success follow naturally. And now, Daniel's journey was moving toward the highest expression of these principles, for the final chapter of his transformation had yet to unfold. Call to action for YouTube. If Daniel's journey inspires you, subscribe, share, and comment below. Tell us how you plan to meet life's greatest challenges with faith, persistence, and decisive action today. I can now create part 6, the final part, where Daniel experiences his full breakthrough, seeing all principles applied together for ultimate success and fulfillment, completing the 6-part series. Do you want me to continue with part 6 next? Here's part 6, the final part of your 6-part Napoleon Hill inspired story series, written in story style, easy American English, around 1,000 words, with an engaging hook and YouTube call to action. Part 6, the triumph of faith, vision, and action. The morning sun streamed through the tall windows of Daniel Hayes' office, catching the dust motes dancing in the light. Today felt different. He had faced storms before, learned to hold his faith steady, to persist through trials, and to act decisively. But today, he sensed a culmination, a moment where all the lessons, the struggles, the triumphs, and the quiet victories would come together. Daniel had grown. He was no longer the uncertain man who had stumbled through his first challenges at the printing company. He had learned the laws that govern achievement: faith, vision, persistence, harmony, cheerful attitude, and decisive action. Each principle had been a step on a ladder that now led him to a horizon he had once only imagined. The first sign of the day's promise arrived with a phone call. A new client, a prestigious publishing firm, needed a large and urgent project completed. Many would have hesitated, weighed the risks, or feared failure. But Daniel saw opportunity. He remembered the countless mornings spent visualizing success, the nights spent practicing calmness, and the moments when persistence had carried him through doubt. He said yes immediately. He gathered his team, and with calm authority outlined the plan. There was no panic, no hesitation, no finger pointing. Every task was delegated according to individual strengths, and every person felt Daniel's quiet faith in their ability to succeed. The atmosphere hummed with energy, a testament to the power of harmony and positive leadership. Daniel knew that the outer world reflects the inner. By maintaining faith and calmness, he had created a ripple of confidence that reached every colleague. The project was challenging, far more complicated than anything they had done before. Mistakes could have derailed it, delays could have cancelled it, and pressure could have crushed the spirit of the team. But Daniel had learned that obstacles are not enemies, they are teachers. He reminded his team daily that every problem had a solution, every setback contained a lesson, and every challenge could become a stepping stone. Days passed in focused effort. Daniel maintained his vision, reminding himself and the team of the ultimate goal. He celebrated small victories along the way, keeping spirits high and minds positive. He encouraged gratitude, patience, and persistence. Faith was their compass, harmony their fuel, and decisive action their engine. Then came the moment of testing. A critical error was discovered in one portion of the project. Many would have panicked, but Daniel remained calm. He knew that fear never solved the problem, but focused action always did. He approached the team with a solution-oriented mindset, dividing tasks clearly, providing guidance, and inspiring confidence. Slowly, meticulously, the error was corrected. The project moved forward, stronger than before. By the end of the week, the work was complete. Daniel presented it to the client personally, with confidence and pride. The client's reaction was beyond expectation. The project was perfect, delivered ahead of schedule, and exceeded every requirement. Praise and gratitude flowed, but Daniel's true reward was the quiet satisfaction that comes from knowing he had applied every principle, every lesson, and every bit of inner strength to achieve this result. That evening, Daniel reflected on the journey. He saw a path marked by growth, self-mastery, and transformation. Faith had been the seed, vision the water, persistence the sunlight, harmony the soil, and decisive action the harvest. Without any one of these elements, the journey would have faltered. Together, they had created a momentum that no obstacle could stop. He thought of the lessons he had learned. The outer world responds to the mind prepared to act with faith. The attitude of cheerfulness and gratitude attracts opportunity and sustains energy. Persistence overcomes delays, challenges, and setbacks. Harmony preserves influence, goodwill, and human connection. Vision provides clarity, direction, and purpose. And decisive action translates all intention into reality. Daniel realized that success is not a single moment but a collection of choices, repeated daily, guided by law, and grounded in principle. Every thought held with faith, every action taken with purpose, every challenge met with persistence, contributes to a life of achievement and fulfillment. Success is never by chance, it is by design. He also understood the responsibility that comes with mastery. Influence carries obligation. Faith and vision are powerful tools that shape not only one's life but the lives of everyone they touch. By walking in harmony, maintaining cheerfulness, and acting decisively, Daniel had not only built success but had become a source of inspiration and leadership for others. As he closed his office door that night, Daniel felt a sense of peace and accomplishment deeper than any he had known. The trials, the doubts, and the fears of the past had been transformed into strength, clarity, and certainty. He knew that life would continue to present challenges, but he was prepared. He had learned to see opportunity within difficulty, to cultivate harmony, to persist through adversity, to maintain faith, and to act with decisiveness. Daniel Hayes had achieved more than a successful project. He had achieved mastery over himself. And as Napoleon Hill teaches, he knew that mastery over self is the foundation of all lasting success. No circumstance, no obstacle, no delay could shake the man who had conquered his own mind. He sat back, smiled, and thought of the journey that had brought him here. From uncertainty to self-mastery, from fear to faith, from hesitation to decisive action, every step had built the foundation for a life of achievement and fulfillment. Daniel's story was proof that the laws of success, when applied consistently and with belief, work for anyone who chooses to follow them. And so, Daniel Hayes prepared for the future with a heart full of gratitude, a mind disciplined in vision, and a spirit steadfast in faith. For he knew that life is not about waiting for luck, nor for circumstances to improve. It is about shaping your destiny through thought, attitude, and action. The man who lives by these principles walks with quiet authority, commands respect without demanding it, and attracts opportunity without seeking it. Daniel had become, in truth, a master of his life. And his journey was a message to all who would listen. The power to achieve greatness lies within. Begin with faith. Cultivate harmony. Persist through trials. Act decisively. Maintain a cheerful mind. See the vision. And watch as the universe responds to your readiness, as doors open, and as destiny unfolds according to the law. Call to action for YouTube. If Daniel's journey inspires you, subscribe, share, and comment below. Share how you will apply faith, persistence, harmony, vision, and decisive action to shape your own life today. Your future begins with the choices you make right now. If you want, I can also create a full SEO optimized package for your 6-part series, including